Pontypandy Costume Parade by Makala. From the Fireman Brian series. It was the day of the annual costume parade in Pontypandy, and all the kids were going to dress up in costumes and parade around the streets. At Rose Johnson's house, Rose was dressed up as a doctor, complete with a white doctor's coat, a pretend medical bag with pretend medical equipment inside that she used to have as a toddler but still has it now, and magenta scrubs. "Open wide and say ah," said Rose. At Gabby Pullman's house, she was dressed up as a fairy princess. Her costume had fairy wings, a pink sparkly dress, and a pretend fairy wand. "I'm going to turn you into a frog," said Gabby. At Malcolm and Jacob James's house, Malcolm and Jacob were both dressed up as firemen just like Fireman Brian. They were both wearing pretend firefighter uniforms and plastic fire helmets. "Firefighters Malcolm and Jacob to the rescue," said Malcolm and Jacob. It was almost time for the annual costume parade to start. All the kids made it outside their houses and started parading to the streets. All the 4 kids paraded into the streets one by one until all the kids were in line together. Everyone came to watch the annual Pontypandy costume parade. Some people were standing on the sidewalk and some people were sitting down on lawn chairs and some people were even sitting down on blankets. All of the parade spectators were cheering as the kids paraded in line in front of them. During the parade, Jacob, who was the second person of the parade line, bumped into Gabby, who was front in line, and this made Gabby fall over forward and land on her legs. Gabby started crying in pain. "My left leg, it's broken," said Gabby. All of the parade spectators, who were watching the parade, gasped in shock. One of the people in the crowd got out their phone and called for Fireman Brian. "I'm calling Fireman Brian," said one person in the crowd. Meanwhile at the Pontypandy fire station, Captain Williams received an emergency call from the map screen 700. "Jacob James has bumped into Gabby Pullman and she has broken her left leg," said the map screen 700. Captain Williams pushes the red button, and the fire alarm bell goes off. "Jacob James has bumped into Gabby Pullman and she has broken her left leg," said Captain Williams over the PA system. Fireman Brian and firefighter Kelly Green slid down the fireman's pole, put on their firefighting uniforms and helmets, climbed inside the water tender, buckled their seat belts, and sped off to the scene with the sirens on. When they got to the scene, Fireman Brian and firefighter Kelly Green got out of the water tender and shut the doors. Fireman Brian ran over to Gabby, who was still crying in pain over her broken left leg. "Fireman Brian, thank goodness you're here, it's my left leg, it hurts." "Jacob bumped into me," said Gabby, as she was crying. There Gabby. It's okay. We're going to touch your left leg, so we know exactly where it hurts," said Fireman Brian. Fireman Brian started touching the upper part of Gabby's left leg. "Does it hurt here?" asks Fireman Brian. "No, I don't feel any pain," said Gabby. "Okay, what about here? Does that hurt?" asks Fireman Brian, as he touched the lower part of Gabby's left leg. "Ow, that really hurts," said Gabby. Then Gabby starts crying again. "Oh, don't cry, Gabby. We're going to get you to a hospital to have your left leg x-rayed," said Fireman Brian. Gabby then stopped crying and she smiled. Fireman Brian called Mountain Rescue for backup. "Pontypandy Fire Service to Mountain Rescue, Gabby is injured, we need to get her to the hospital quickly. We're going to need you as soon as possible," said Fireman Brian over the walkie-talkie. "Roger that, Fireman Brian. On my way," said John Jenkins over the walkie-talkie. John Jenkins got into his helicopter, closed the helicopter door, switched on the controls, and the helicopter blades started to spin and the helicopter was lifted up into the air. John Jenkins flew his helicopter over to the scene where Gabby was present. "Hello, Fireman Brian. Did somebody order Mountain Rescue?" asks John over the walkie-talkie. "I certainly did. We're going to need a stretcher down here. Gabby's left leg is injured and she is in pain." "Copy that, Fireman Brian," said John over the walkie-talkie. John Jenkins was able to lower the stretcher down to Gabby and Fireman Brian. Fireman Brian loaded Gabby on the stretcher. Gabby had red seat belts over her body to keep her safe while being airlifted to the hospital. "Okay, Gabby, you're going for a little ride to the hospital," said Fireman Brian. "Thanks, Fireman Brian," said Gabby. Fireman Brian gave John Jenkins the thumbs up, and John lifted the stretcher into the air and John Jenkins flew his helicopter to the hospital. "That's not fair," Gabby gets a ride to the hospital in a helicopter, and now there's only 3 of us in the parade," said Jacob. "Well, it looks like we're just going to have to parade without her," said Rose. Luckily, Molly Woodley and her 4-year-old daughter, Callie Woodley, arrive at the scene. Callie was dressed up as a ghost, with a white blanket, with cutout eyes on it. "Boo," said Callie. All the kids got scared of Callie's ghost costume, and they screamed, but then their screams turned into laughter. Everyone started laughing, even Fireman Brian. The end.